Welcome to a little bit less than random with me, Jason, and Andrew.
Uh, so we are doing this through Zoom. This is going to be
Our first video podcast.
no, not our first one. We had one, but I guess it didn't.
Yeah, but that was scrapped.
Oh yeah, it was scrapped because I guess it didn't turn out as good. The audio got pretty funky, but I actually thought it was funny. I liked it. So for those who got to see it, like a handful of people got to see it. Consider yourself lucky.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when was the last time we had our podcast, like an actual audio podcast? When was the last one?
Gotta have been more than a month now, right?
Yeah, I forgot what. I know briefly we talked about coronavirus. At least the passengers.
Mm-hmm.
The airplane coming in with the passengers
Okay.
landing into March Air Force Base, and that was just only the beginning of the whole pandemic.
Yeah.
But now it's just blown to a larger global, not just national, global scale.
Right. So was that one with was it with Angela? We talked about movies. Was that the last one we did?
Yeah, I think that was the last time we had that last podcast.
Yeah. So it feels weird. It feels weird because everything's really changed. Nothing is the same because we actually wrote a poem in my I'm thinking of
Mhm.
this poem we wrote in my club. We wrote a poem the very last day that we were allowed to be on campus even. It was probably the last thing we did. It was one of the last things happening on campus because campus pretty much shut down. And one of the refrains and the key lines that sort of came back was "Nothing is the same. Everything has changed. Yet the atmosphere is tame." Something like that. Yeah. Um, uh, did you do? Have you done any writing since this?
No, I only write for assignments
Oh, okay.
or when I have to make a message.
Yeah, I've been mostly trying to learn a lot about Canvas because they've added these sort of like little wheels to see how accessible. It's like this little like dial that tells you how accessible your material is, and I had a lot of little errors that need to be corrected and needed to be corrected. So that's been challenging. And then the workload is actually more to do the online, but I'm hoping that once I create a lot of this content, it will. Some of it I'll get to keep. And
There's this poem I've been meaning to share with you,
Mhm.
and that was it's a poem poking fun of PC culture,
Mhm.
and damn, I wish I would have just taken a picture because I can't find it online.
I think it's weird that in some ways that's all the PC culture stuff is really taking a back seat to the coronavirus stuff. It's almost like a lot of those political things, although people are politicizing coronavirus, um, don't matter as much. More it's like just trying to figure out what the best things we could do to stop the spread of the virus are.
Here, I'm gonna send it to you on Messenger, and then you can read it all out if you want. I found the poem.
Oh no, you read it.
Okay, and this is not my poem. This is somebody else's poem. So
Okay.
it's called "Language Police" by Denise Duhamel. Duhamel.
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm saying that right. Well, the name of the title is called "Language Police," but this is how it goes. The busybody, banned as sexist demeaning to older women, who lives next door, called my daughter a tomboy, banned as sexist. Well, she climbed the jungle, banned, replaced with rainforest, gem. Then she had the nerve to call her an egghead and a bookworm, both banned as offensive, replaced with intellectual. Because she read fairy, banned because suggests homosexuality, replaced with elf, tales. I'm tired of the language police turning a deaf ear, banned as handicapism, to my complaints. I'm no Pollyanna, banned as sexist, and will not accept any lame, banned as offensive, replaced with walks with a cane excuses at this time. If Alanis Morissette can play God, banned, and Dogma, banned as ethnocentric, replaced with doctrine or belief, why can't my daughter play stickball, banned as regional or ethical bias? On a boys' night out, banned as sexist? Why can't she build a snowman, banned, replaced with snow person? Without that fanatic, banned as ethnocentric, replaced with believer, follower, or adherent? Next door telling her she's going to hell, banned, replaced with heck or darn? Do you really think this is what the founding fathers banned as sexist, replaced with founders or the framers had in mind? That we can't even enjoy our devil banned egg ham sandwiches in peace? I say put a stop to this cult banned as ethnocentric of PC old wives' tales, banned as sexist, replaced with folk wisdom, and extremist banned as ethnocentric, replaced with believer, follower, adherent. Conservative duffers banned as demeaning to older men. As a Harris banned as sexist, replaced with hair. To the First Amendment, I feel that only a heretic, used with caution when comparing religions, would try to stop American vernacular from flourishing, and all its inspirational banned as patronizing when referring to a person with disabilities splendor.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Do you get the gist of the poem?
Oh, and then the Buddhist Barbie. That sounds interesting. Yeah, it's like she's trying to say that all these phrases that have gained popular parlance now typically don't have any negative connotations, usually, or can, but don't generally. And we've now said we need to replace them. And I don't know. I have mixed feelings about that.
It's worth more than one reading because when you read it, you probably didn't get it at first, so maybe it's worth reading it more than once.
Quite
And
a,
that's what it is with most poems.
well, okay. So what is it that most people don't get in the first reading? It's a couple.
Well, they don't know this is a satirical, humorous poem.
Mhm.
You know, poking fun of PC culture. Political correctness. It's pretty much making fun of the SJWs.
Yeah.
You can't say anything and expect to have a euphemism for it.
Right, and there's some ways in which the euphemism just becomes the bad, the bad word. It starts to take on the meaning of the first word, and like even let's take it for example, SJW. I'm not a huge fan of the term, but to be a social justice warrior actually would be a good thing. But because of the context, now it has a negative connotation, right?
Well, it did had a positive connotation during GamerGate, but over over the few years,
Mhm.
I kind of you know just had that negative feel to it, negative connotation to it.
Uh, it's an interesting poem. Yeah, it definitely seems like something that you're interested in.
Because the speaker's talking about the language police, like you can't. Well, the poem is in the form of a letter, as if she's writing to,
Mhm.
or she's making some kind of statement.
I mean, if I were to revise this, I would just be like redacted instead of banned. That might be funnier.
I guess because it's a catching word, banned.
Yeah, yeah. I like redacted
Yeah,
because I've done a similar sort of example
here,
where,
let's ban with redacted.
yeah, or some words are
But,
perfect.
it's just something an SJW would say, banned.
Yeah. Do you want to talk a bit about? Well, is there anything else you want to add to this that people miss that you felt really?
Yeah, the Alanis Morissette references it's in that movie Dogma by Kevin Smith. You should go watch it, Andrew. It
Oh, I've done that. Okay,
has
so
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
you know how people use certain characters and certain ideas just to annoy others?
Hmm.
I have to admit I've done that where I've like asked the question, could and if there were a God, I don't think there is, but in the infinitesimally small chance that there
It
is,
would be Alanis Morissette. Isn't
well,
that ironic? See what I did there?
I already know, right? No,
Yeah.
I mean that it's there's at least a 50% chance that she would be female
Hmm.
or something like that. And so I have toyed with that idea just to kind of annoy people. Um, and I guess I wasn't being serious. I have tried to like troll people or just sort of annoy people, and it seems like a lot of times too in our culture, a lot of choices are made not because they're artistically what we really want to say. It's to get a sense of Schadenfreude or a pleasure out of other people's annoyance or discomfort because we're trying to overtly politicize some things and some content. And this relates to our conversation with Angelo when we were talking about trying too hard to make a text read as if it's feminist when the text or the movie or whatever the work is was already perfectly aligned with feminist values. like that was with we were talking about what was the movie? The one with the robot.
Oh,
I can't remember the name.
uh, you talk about where the guy creates female robots to have sex with them.
Oh, that's an interesting movie. I love that movie. I
Wait,
like.
wait, it's not that the movie you're referring to?
No, that wasn't it, but that was a good movie though. The one that you're mentioning, that really was.
Yeah, Deus Machina, or
Yeah,
no, it's called Ex Machina.
yeah, that's right. That's yeah. I definitely recommend people watch that if they haven't yet. Do you want to talk about coronavirus?
Yeah, sure, because that's what's in everybody else's mind, you know. His job is our side job, and I say that loosely.
Yeah. How do you stop? Here, do
Podcasters is to entertain
you want to
our
stop?
very small fan base listeners.
Do you want to stop share so that we can?
Sure, yeah, yeah. Because who wants to look at this quote? I mean, you guys can Google it. So let's stop the share there. Da, 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 da.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. What's been on your mind lately?
Mm, I don't know. Okay, so like I said before, I got to that whole poem thing I had to share with you. Um, just the coronavirus, man. Like I said, it started off as something small as Wuhan, China. Somehow, then you hear news about a airplane having to land in March Air Force Base, which is really close to home from where we live.
Right. But it didn't. It really got in through Washington, right? Washington, I think.
State,
hmm
yeah. See, oh yeah, that's where my aunt's from.
In New York, I think.
Yeah, New York. And then, long story short, here we are now in a fucking global crisis of epic proportions.
Yeah. I do you feel like okay, so I've gotten like even some people have gotten mad at me for just asking the question. If it came earlier, if the virus entered, let's say like in January, and you ran the models where it like if one person got sick, then 2 to 3 people would get sick from that one person, then the virus should be pretty widespread right now, meaning more people have it than we think have it, which I think almost no one should argue with that. That should be obvious that we're not testing enough, and that the tests don't show the number of people who actually have it. Um,
Yeah,
if
I don't know. It's hard to like document the spread of it. Like, well, I mean, I got sick early this year. I remember I had strep throat.
yeah, but that seemed to be pretty obviously strep throat, so I don't think that was it at all. That was in January, but there were cases in
But
February.
I suppose it was early as just maybe as late December. Then we start hearing the word coronavirus.
That wasn't yeah, and so imagining that it arrived in the U.S. in January, that means that the by this point the virus would have had to have been pretty widespread, which means the death rate is much lower than we think. Certainly, like if you just put the total deaths that we know of so far in the U.S., I'm kind of hoping that that means that the U.S. is documenting deaths correctly. Take total deaths, that would be the numerator, and the total people who are sick or have gotten sick would be the denominator. If you just do those two numbers, the death rate is really low. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, it's not just,
That's to the whole, people out there who are scared for their lives right now, Andrew.
yeah, I don't think they should
I
be.
don't think anyone can apply logic at this point in time.
That's the frustrating thing because I wanted to talk about this. This is to me like the PC culture. I wanted to have a very balanced,
Well
dispassionate.
thought out conversation about numbers and statistics about what's going on in the world. Well, they said it's only 3% of the world population.
Well, no, so it's very likely much less than that. And
Much less than that.
so 3% would be if we accepted the numerator and the denominator, but we know we're not testing enough, and we know we're not documenting mild cases. And one of the reasons this virus is so successful is that many cases are very mild and some even asymptomatic. And so we don't know how many people have it. And so that means that it's less deadly. And so that's good news in some ways. In some ways, it's also bad news because then it means that the virus is much sneakier. It's better at doing its job of infecting people. And so whenever I try to talk about that and try to enter into like just have a conversation that's dispassionate, I
With all your students, or
buddy. it feels like
Everybody.
everybody says, "Why do you want people to die?" It's like, how do you come from let's I'm just talking about numbers to
No, I'm just gonna call you Spock because you're all nothing but logic right now.
oh, well, Spock wasn't very logical sometimes. He would go too far. He'd be like, well, that's an illogical move, so he wouldn't make that in chess. So therefore, I'm not going to consider it. And then the other guy, Captain Kirk, right? He would
Yeah.
make like, you're so illogical, you won. Well, if he won, he's logical, not illogical. Anyways, uh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm sorry, I'm just
So what? Okay, when did they announce officially the lockdown and the whole enforcement of everything what's going on? Well, okay,
oh,
when did the quarantine actually started? That's my question.
well, okay. So we're using the word quarantine pretty loosely. I would say
Well, PC culture,
now,
huh?
like we call it like so we've been calling it social distancing, but now you can get cited for not wearing a face mask.
Exactly. You know, at Walmart, we had to turn down customers without any face masks.
Are you turning down customers who aren't buying essential items?
That's on them whether they can afford it or not, but we're asking them to have a mask.
Right. Okay, so right now we're not saying if you go to Walmart and you're not buying an essential item, you can't go. So we're not truly quarantining. This is so it's still it's kind of like extreme social distancing. And I often talk about freedoms and lives saved as trade-offs. If you're utilitarian or utilitarian ethicist, oh now I've introduced a term I need to define.
Oh,
Basically,
great. Now I have to explain to the audience.
I know. You can look it up. I can put a definition at the bottom of the screen where you're trying to maximize lives saved versus lives lost for anything. You're constantly weighing cost benefits of actions.
So it's like the saying, kill hundreds, save millions.
Also, we also balance things like personal free. You can also put values in there, and so like China has been very successful at suppressing this virus because they're locking people in their houses.
Well, that's good. I think people are listening because I wasn't able to find a parking space trying to visit my mom at her apartment.
Oh gosh. Oh, because
Yeah,
they were at home. Okay, good. Okay, not because people were.
everyone was at home. That's why I couldn't find a parking space.
That's better. If people were going because they were visiting their parents, then that's like, oh no, don't do that.
Oh, no, my mom made me a face mask. That's what she saw my Instagram.
I saw that. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying is that okay? So in the U.S., we haven't done an extreme quarantine. So to some extent, we're still playing that game of trade-offs of personal freedom and lives saved. And so,
Hmm.
um, there are people who look at the cost and benefit of giving to charity. This is effective altruists use a program called GiveWell to see per dollar how many lives have I saved. Um, I wonder. We've just spent 2 trillion. Um, if we are making the most of our efforts to save lives, uh, and that's a debate. And so as soon as I mention that, people are like, "How dare you? How do you? Why do you want my mom, my grandma, my sister, my brother, my kids. How do you want these people to die?" And I'm like, no, we live in a world where people die. And the goal is to reduce the total amount. But I obviously am in favor of social distancing.
Okay, say when you mean reduce the total
Total amount
amount,
of people dying.
you mean
Yeah.
the population?
No, no, you want to reduce the number of people dying.
Okay,
And suffering. And suffering. Suffering is also
yes.
important there too.
Because you have to make that distinction. Yeah, so I'm hearing these crazy ass conspiracy theory stories about.
Zombies?
Did you check out the link I sent you about how Kobe Bryant's death is weirdly related to the
Oh,
coronavirus?
not yet. Not yet. How is it related?
That's why I was hoping you'd watch it.
Well, but our listeners haven't watched it, so even if so, just like
Well, you can send them the link.
okay, we'll put it in the bottom. Uh,
Yeah,
I don't know.
but then you know the problem with that is they'll believe everything as factual truth.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Before this got serious, I was joking that this was all an attempt to keep LeBron from winning.
Oh yeah, I do remember you saying that.
Now that
Yeah,
feels
it's funny because in that conspiracy theory they mentioned something about LeBron.
yeah. I mean, but it was a joke. I wasn't serious.
Oh yeah, but what if to every joke there's some hidden nugget of truth?
Yeah, there might be. Or sometimes something is real, but people take advantage of the reality. So, Like I obviously coronavirus people are dying. They're not making this up. People are getting sick. People are suffering. People are doing permanent damage to their lungs, or not doing them, but are having permanent damage done to their lungs. But the conspiracy that it's big business trying to stomp on little businesses, which I've heard, um, I could see that big businesses are trying to take advantage of this opportunity to stomp on little businesses. So it doesn't have to be a conspiracy theory. It could just be two things can be true.
I mean, those are just real life consequences. That's just like the actual, where we're at right now. Of course, big businesses are going to survive because they're too big to, to fail, or at least in the sense of that they've been long around. They have millions of dollars from profits.
And they get bailed out. They get bailed out in a way that
What about the whole stimulus package? What was the point of that?
well, that's part of it. Is a lot of that is going to save big businesses. Uh,
Really, that was for the small businesses.
Well, some of those are loans. I haven't studied it as much as I should, but many of it consist of loans, so they have to pay that money back. And so if a business is not in business for 3 months or 4
Okay, let
months,
me rephrase the question though. I'm not a business owner. I'm not a local business owner. Am I still getting my 1,200?
I believe you should still get your 1,200.
Yeah, that's all I.
But keep it
Everybody wants to know that. Don't take it from us, guys. We're just speculating.
right. So I think all you have to have done to get your 1,200 is you have to have filed
Taxes.
taxes in 2018 or 2019, and I think you can still file late even if you you weren't required to file. Um, just to show that you basically exist. And you have to also not be a dependent of somebody. So like if somebody filed and claimed you as a dependent, and you, but there's some groups of people who fall in between that. So like my brother, if you're young and you live at home and you're a student, a lot of those people don't get stimulus packages or don't get that 1,200, and their parents don't get the 500 if they're over 16 or 17, something like that, 16 or 17, one of those ages.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about personal experiences. Like, okay, so once you heard news about what's going on, did your heart sink in? Did you think it was the end of the world? Each passing day, there's always some new development, a new statistic. It's going to get worse before it's going to get better, or it might just be worse the whole time, and possibly never get better. You think it's going to drag out the whole year? What are your thoughts? What are your personal thoughts on the matter? Like, okay, how do you feel right now at home? Like, just personally speaking, how do you feel?
Okay, it's tough. I think that where we are right now with the social distancing, we should have been maybe 2 weeks ago. So we should have been more serious about it because we don't want to drag it on, and I don't see how it can not be dragged on. And I'm really worried about people. I'm worried about homelessness increasing. I'm worried about people losing their houses, people losing their businesses, because even though we're not requiring payment, those payments are going to add up, and that 1,200 is not going to make a dent. I'm worrying about the incentives. If somebody gets $600 more for not working than working, there's very little incentive to keep working right now. So I don't know if the stimulus package is perfectly aligned with what we want. I just don't see how things will go back to normal anytime soon. At least not this summer. It's going to go into fall, I
The
think.
whole year, pretty much the majority of the year.
But I'm optimistic from what I've heard that this is something that once you have, you're likely going to have about an immunity for a year or some sort of immunity to some degree. So it's not going to be as bad in future years. And there should be a vaccine potentially. There apparently researchers are optimistic that this is something we can create a vaccine for. It's different from the flu.
Yeah, this is like the flu, but 10 times.
Yeah. So what are your feelings and thoughts?
Oh, you really want to know? I
Yeah.
think it's fucking bullshit.
You think it's bullshit? You want
Yeah, my events got canceled, right? So I was supposed to go to my phone. I was supposed to go to a concert. It was a Killswitch Engage concert in downtown Riverside. Well, it didn't get canceled, it got postponed, but still,
to?
you know.
So you met Laura this year, Imagine if you had met her, if you didn't meet her because of coronavirus. That'd,
Well,
that'd be
let's not go there. Because she's gonna be listening to this and she's gonna like, yeah, babe, what are you gonna think about it? What do you think of that, huh? What if you didn't meet me because of coronavirus?
imagine not, people's lives, the trajectories of people's lives are going to be changed. So like imagine the kid who is graduating this year from high school who said, I'll just put off starting college till fall. They won't start in the summer, they'll start in fall. And then imagine fall rolls around, classes are still online, they're like, I'll just start when they go back to face. And once they lose that momentum, they might never start.
Let's hope people don't lose their momentum, you know.
Well, it's so easy to lose momentum, and I'm worried about those people. So this is going to be life changing for people for the foreseeable future. And so that young person is going to, realistically, they should be working for another 40, 50 years. Their work, what they do, their education, their trajectory and career path.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's not just education, you know. Some people, people have to work from home at the moment, and you know, like I wouldn't say luckily, but like, it's a double-edged sword. I am considered a essential worker, so
I know I got in an argument with my family because I said that the people going out and doing stuff are essential, not the people putting money into the economy through buying stuff. It's
no,
not the
I'm putting money in drawers.
in your underwear.
No, cashier drawers.
Oh, okay. But I mean,
Yeah, I see what you did there, though. Yeah.
no, I mean like the people doing like the. I was trying to say that we should really value the people who do the things like what you do. Like I'm not essential.
I only got one compliment from customers saying, "Oh, thank you for saying like, oh, it wasn't my decision. You know, it was Walmart's. I'm just here just for the paycheck."
Yeah, but you guys are risking your health, and so I think that you guys are the most valuable people. This is a great argument for Bernie Sanders,
Yeah,
and
I'm right there with the healthcare providers or professionals.
yeah, right. And it's amazing to me that people didn't vote for Sanders. I'm
Who knows? This might change. He's still on the run, right? He's still.
seems like his path is really narrowed. That and people
I
forgot.
mean, he's old. I don't know if he would, coronavirus would take him away.
Hopefully not
That's a little extreme. Edit that out if you have to.
about that. But okay, so something that could really happen that's really awful is the
Yeah.
election.
Yeah. Who knows? Okay, I'm starting to think that more and more that this virus is man-made.
I
It
don't.
ha-
Why do you think that?
No, it's for political reasons. It's either biological warfare, it's germ warfare, it's one of those things.
I
How is it that you can't solve? We have all these like
well,
it's what's century ones? Like 21st fucking century. We have all these experts in the medical field, and they can't fucking find an answer, a solution to end this fucking coronavirus, the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So
mhm.
what's taking so goddamn long to figure it out?
Well, that's not unique to this virus. There's a lot of viruses that we don't have vaccines for.
Yeah, I guess we can't use the word cure loosely either, because like cure is just a fictitious, word that we shouldn't even use.
Well, we do have treatments. So like
Treatment's like the closest thing to a cure we're gonna get.
yeah, so we have treatments that for just generally like for things like pneumonia, things like sort of the illnesses that follow getting the coronavirus when they're more serious. Ventilators, right? If we had more ventilators, this would be less of a scary thing. But there's some issue with that where by the time you need a ventilator, your odds of survival are pretty low anyway. So the ventilator is not like a cure-all either. But from what I
But then you have those bunch of people buying sanitizers and shit ton of wipes, thinking that's gonna
I got,
solve the problem.
well, you get first dibs on that stuff, right?
Well, I'm just like everyone else. I just get a limit. There's some people who will get 8 of everything, and clearly we have signs that say no, just one.
I might hit you up for just one of something. I don't know what yet, but
Okay? When was the last time you've been out of your house? Honest question. When was the last time you've been out of your house?
that's a good question. I can't remember. Maybe 3 days ago. Was it Sunday?
So you've
Sunday.
been locked inside your whole house.
What's only Tuesday? So Sunday.
Okay. And what did you go out for? To visit your mom or what?
I went to. Did I go to the store? I think it was a store. I just
Okay, 'cause the only time you need to ever go out is for the store.
right. But people do have been visiting their families, and so that's technically not allowed right now. I did go see my mom, uh, but there when I have seen her, I've tried to see her rarely, keep our social distance, and for a reason. Usually because we're giving her something. The other day I went over and I was pretty proud of myself. I fixed the heater.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
How many times you gotta hit it to get it fixed?
No, that's not what I did. There was a sensor that needed to be cleaned. It was pretty easy actually. It's nothing special,
No.
but I fixed the heater. So how many English degrees do you need to be able to fix things? I guess you don't
No.
need. You need
Just, grammar and punctuation.
no, you just need YouTube.
Spelling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, like, I'm personally affected. I mean, we're on this together, so who knows how long it's gonna drag out. I think it's a good idea that we mandate masks, but yeah, I know there's still people who are not gonna get the fucking message.
The math.
Masks,
Okay. Yeah.
like the thing I'm wearing that
Yeah.
I just took off. Yeah.
Yeah. I think
You
that
know what? It doesn't. Let's just let people know it doesn't have to be the N95, the surgical mask.
cloth would work. Just do the.
Any fabric cloth would work. This, I use, and I wore this even before then, just for shits and giggles. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, like it's gonna do the trick. You can even get a torn up T-shirt and wear that over your face.
You know.
Now is like a good time to start wearing whatever it is
You know what I think is
for
awesome.
your face. Yeah.
I am a fan of this YouTube channel called SciShow, uh,
Uh-huh.
like science oriented. How many groups like the WHO, the CDC, all these shows and institutions that said masks were a bad idea, don't wear masks because they said masks don't work. Don't wear masks because the healthcare workers need them. So
Yeah, we're talking about the actual PPE masks.
but do you hear the inconsistency in the statement? So they're pointing out that they're telling a lie in the statement because if they didn't work, healthcare workers wouldn't need them. And so this was a
It wouldn't work for us because we're not because what we have to do is just do social distancing.
hold on though. So here's the thing that I'm trying to say is that a lot of times when we do this, we're doing it because at this particular moment in history, we don't have enough masks. That was the reason they said that lie. But in the future, a lot of this stuff ends up in the academic literature or gets treated as if it's true, and so then people operate as if that is the case, and they make decisions based on that. So like I saw this guy. Um, and I've been kind of for and against him. I actually really like him. His name's Nicholas Christakis. He said that stopping all plane traffic would only postpone the spread of the virus by about 30 to 40 days. Well, I bet we'd really want those 30 to 40 days now. He was saying that stopping schools is more important than stopping plane air traffic. Well, I think you could have done both. We could have done both. But people were against, even on my side on the left liberal side of the aisle, were against stopping plane.
What about prisons? What
Oh,
are the chances that any of those guys have it? Any of those people?
probably a ton. It's terrible for prisons. And so, um,
You know what I heard? I heard there's more beds in prisons that there are in hospitals.
could be true. I don't know. Uh, it sounds like something that people want to believe to be true though. So I'd be suspect of it.
Who do you believe? Huh? Am I supposed to what you
I believe the evidence. And if you show me the numbers and they're more, it might not be crazy that there are more beds, but there are probably prisoners in those beds. And, uh, it's probably high because mass incarcerations has already been an issue. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's true.
as you want to sleep in a prisoner bed? I bet they're like the worst kind of fucking beds that exist.
I could sleep anywhere. I could sleep on my what is it called? Futon back there. Pretty easy.
Or,
I could sleep on the floor pretty easily, with just a blanket.
oh well, on those nights, I'm
Uh,
just kidding. Uh, so the question is, do you have your mask?
I have a few masks actually. My mom made me some and gave me some masks. I have the ones from like Home Depot, the white ones. I had some left over from when I bought my house and I was doing some work. And then
Right.
like just one mask. I think the important thing for people to do is look at the times that the virus stays alive. I think it's about, depending on the material, if you have plastic on your mask, it's longer, but I think it's about 24 hours. Don't use the same mask in one, the next time. So if you're only going out, like let's say every 3 or 4 or 5 days, um, use one mask, set it aside, and then use a different mask the next time. So that way,
Yeah, if anything, gloves go burden. People go through more gloves than they do with masks.
yeah, I'm not sure how useful the gloves are. I think you have to be good at taking them off without touching the gloves. And um, I don't know. I hear it's just really about touching your face. I hear it's also about the viral load, like how much of the virus you get, you get infected with. Because apparently, young healthcare workers are getting more sick than just random young people. Like no young people are really, I'm not saying no, but if you have large enough numbers, anytime you have a ton of people getting sick, you're going to find young people who get really sick. But on
Yeah,
young people fare pretty well against this virus. Um, it's
yeah,
young healthcare workers though aren't faring well against the virus. I hear. And
young because I assume because they're inexperienced.
no, I think it's because they're just coming in contact with a large amount, and it doesn't make sense.
Why only the young health workers? Why not the older ones?
Well, they are too. I was saying that some people think that if you're young, you're going to fare well, which is generally true, but it's not generally true for young healthcare workers because it seems that they're in contact with there's probably other things where their immune system has been hampered because of lack of sleep or for whatever reason. They're getting um, they're having experiencing worse effects. It seems like. Uh, and for me, it's just imagine that the virus, just the RNA in the virus, just has to affect your cells. I wouldn't think that how much of it would have such a big impact, but it seems like it might. So, like dosage, how much of the virus are you coming in contact with, seems to also play a role, um, which is something to think about because most of us aren't going to come in contact with very much of the virus if we've come in contact with it at all. I question whether I've had it and don't know it. I don't know if you think about that.
I mean, I guess you would. The only way you would find out if you had it was, you know, those symptoms that the CDC said, described as
Nausea,
being those key symptoms: shortness of breath, fatigue.
loss of smell would be the asthmosnia.
Yeah, have you had any of that?
No, but I did. Okay, it could have been coffee. The last week of classes, I was getting I got two really bad headaches, which are on the list. And I was getting sort of like my heart was racing. And it could have been stress because there were some stressful things going on in my life at that point, too. Um, but Jocelyn had gotten sick, and my sister had gotten really sick with something that the symptoms seem almost exactly like the coronavirus. And this was around the first week of March. So that's not impossible. It's not impossible. It's possible.
Yeah, it's crazy where we are right now, huh, Andrew.
Yeah. But if they had the virus, if this thing is as contagious as they say, I would have had it. It just wouldn't have shown symptoms. So, and that means my mom might have had it, but would have been lucky enough not to show symptoms.
Yeah, this is like it's crazy. This is like our new normal now. I'm probably not gonna see my newborn niece as a
That
baby. I've only seen her one time as a baby, and I don't think I'm ever gonna see her
I think that's smart.
for quite a while.
Yeah.
It sucks for like especially newborns coming to this world not knowing we're in this pandemic.
Does that suck or they're not going to remember?
I mean, unless it's in the history books. You think shit like this will be in the history books?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Bad stuff definitely. Like this is a unique moment. Even just the 2 trillion that we spent and the unemployment. Have you seen the graph where it's like, here's unemployment over the history of time, and they show bad periods too that spike like this, and then it's like ours, and the graph just has to shrink so that it can
Yeah,
change.
because it's out of it's off the charts.
One thing that I'm worried about too is I'm really worried about people who are in different situations. So if somebody's undocumented, for instance, they're not going to get any help. And so there's 11 million people who are undocumented, maybe more than that. If somebody is sponsoring somebody, so they're documented. I'm sure a lot of Hispanic people fall in this category. They're documented, but they're being sponsored by someone to stay in the country. The undocumented person can't claim unemployment benefits, and the person sponsoring them can't claim unemployment benefits. And so those people are just probably suffering, and their citizenship in the future could get their sponsorship could be denied if they don't make enough to sponsor the person they care about. And so people's citizenship could be affected by this.
Well, somehow everything in every fashion or way or form, everyone is affected by it.
Yeah, and it's going to be devastating for a lot of people. A lot of people who are undocumented pay taxes. They just don't ask for a return. They're not going to get any help from the stimulus package. Meanwhile, the people making the laws, the senators and the people who are making these stimulus packages and making the rules to stay at home, you know, I think that out of solidarity, they should go 3 or 4 months without their checks, just so
You
that
know, okay,
if they're saying it's good for society, they should go through it too, so they can have quote unquote skin in the game, meaning that you have something to lose. So if you're saying that a policy is a good idea, you should be willing to take the brunt of the force of the policy yourself, if you truly believe it's good. Because there's a lot of people who are making their family of four. They're two married people with two kids who are making uh, $60,000 each, so they're making $120,000. They're under the 150, so they're going to get the two stimulus checks of 1,200 plus $1,000 for their two kids, so 500 each for their kids, and they didn't lose any wages. Let's say
no, but they probably lost sleep
they lost some sleep, but they're not
from
losing.
the children crying. They can't get out. Every child is homeschooled.
Yeah.
I saw his meme. Let's just lighten the mood here a bit. I saw his meme had Baby Yoda on it and said, "Thank God it's one of those. Thank God it's a time where you can be childless,
Oh,
watching Netflix." I don't know if
yeah,
you
yeah, that was great. We should I'll maybe put a little overview of a picture of that. Yeah, that's true. It's got to be tough on parents. Okay, yeah, you're saying they deserve some money for having to take care of their own children.
yeah,
Uh,
especially inside the house, like you can't get any peace of mind. I'm sure.
yeah. Well, I guess I.
Particularly, I have a child. It's my dog.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yeah. I guess I was just worried about the inequality going like this. Like, it's gonna definitely get bad, and so I'm not sure if the policies we have are really addressing those who are the worst off.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not an economist, but damn,
It's all right. Economists, they don't get anything right. Like, uh,
what fucking good are they then
well,
to have them around?
I see
They're
things.
just like the weathermen. They can't get shit right.
Weathermen get things better than the economists, apparently. Like the
Yeah,
economists,
weather women get shit better.
yeah, and the women get it better than the economists. Economists, like they did something like they had like famous economists try to predict and make market choices, and then they had some monkeys do it, and the monkeys did better.
Wow, this sounds like some Family Guy joke. Like some.
Oh yeah, if I can find the study, I'll link to it. But I'm pretty sure there's something like that. That's true. The models just they're models, and they're
Okay, I can see that. Okay, have you not been gone insane from the lack of from your lack of gigs, from your
I
old, old sense of former life?
Yeah, I miss the gigs. I miss playing. Um, what has been fun has been making content for my class, and for those who listen to the podcast, you've probably seen that I've uploaded some little pieces of that. That has been fun. So that's given me some entertainment. My workload is increased, not decreased. So even though the amount of money I'm bringing in because my gigs are canceled has decreased, that
Unless you do quarantine gigs.
I'm able to keep busy. So I haven't gone insane, but I was getting a little bit not depressed, but I was feeling a little down yesterday. And it's been impacting me. And I noticed that it correlates with whether I wake up early in the morning. So if I wake up early in the morning, I tend to feel better. I don't know if you notice this.
Hmm. Yeah, that's why I kind of respond late half the time, like midday.
Mm.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you had your class.
Well, also sometimes I'm busy because sometimes I teach lessons in the morning. But um,
But you still have your music lessons, right?
yeah. Well, I also like on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I still doing a Zoom meeting with my class, and sometimes I have to prep. I have to do some prep for that, and so I'm preparing for that. And on Mondays, I'm really busy because Mondays I'm doing the my weekly announcement. And I do it. I've been kind of maybe doing too much. I do it in written form and in video form. So I do a video where I do screenshots and I show them where things are at, so that people can't say I don't know where that's at. So it's a way to help students, and not many watch it. I see the numbers.
Yeah. Well, life of a professor during the pandemic, huh?
Well, you want to join me, so now you know. I'm happy to show you what the.
Yeah, when everything's canceled. Oh my gosh. I'm starting to think that this virus was created by the SJWs because they want to cancel everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard times. Yeah, I think it's gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, definitely. There's no way this isn't gonna. We're probably. I don't think we're quite at the apex yet. I think this next month is gonna be really tough. It's gonna be really rough.
It's gonna be rough. Yeah, I think you know what's gonna happen as a result of this. We're all gonna gain weight from this.
Maybe. I've been actually kind of weighing myself. My goal is actually to lose weight. I feel like I've lost about 2 pounds so far, and maybe gained a little bit of muscle mass, but probably not noticeable.
Yeah, so it's hard to be productive in a world where, because as humans, we're social. We have to go out and about. We can't just reside in one place.
Yeah. Well, I keep my weights like they're right behind me.
So, like, I kind of take, I take going to the gym for granted. I wish I would have gone more often.
Well, you can work out at home though.
Yeah, I just have to improvise.
Yeah. But Rocky, he never went to a fancy gym, and he beat.
No, he went to what's it called, a meat. Well, eventually he did go to gym, but he went to like a meat factory where he worked.
Yeah, but remember he was he sort of quarantined himself in Russia in the snow, and he just.
Yeah, although that wasn't until Rocky 4 though.
Yeah, but there you go. You mean you can work out anywhere, and there's a ton of stuff you could do to increase your muscle mass and burn some calories,
Yeah.
even if you can't go out and outside. Um, like I have two 25-pound weights, and they're right behind me. I feel like I can.
Just the ones collecting dust. I'm just kidding.
No. I've been just grabbing them and using them here and there, just in between something. Like so, I'm working on something for my class. Grab my weights, do something really quickly, and just kind of help me concentrate. I guess, or kind of you know.
Keep your mind off things.
Yeah, I do this too when I write. I tend to procrastinate a lot. I write a little something, get up, I walk around, I write a little something, get up.
Oh, so you're not. So I'm not the only one then.
No, it's part of my process. But
Yeah, same here. I procrastinate with my writing.
yeah, but oftentimes I found that because of it's part of my ADD too, I just can't sit still and focus for a long time.
What a
Sometimes
lot of good writers do. They drink a lot.
no, I don't think that helps me. What has helped me before was I used to go into my school Starbucks, and I was so worried about losing my wall outlet that I would stay there for hours, and I would just get a lot done. And so if I'm forced to be in one spot, then I can get a lot done.
Well, I
That
mean, whatever works.
Yeah, I think it does work. That's why people go to Starbucks, I think, to do their work so much.
Yeah, you can joke around saying, "Oh, meet me in my office," which is at the Starbucks table right over here.
What do you miss the most right now?
um, damn, what do I miss most? Definitely not my family. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you see them. You still see them. Uh, I mean, like, well,
What do I miss? What do I really miss? Let me think about that.
my mom said pizza.
I used to order pizza.
You can still order it, but I wouldn't advise it. Uh,
I mean, well, because you're gonna get a virus through a pizza. No, no, any bacteria or virus, it gets killed when you heat up the pizza.
I don't know.
I don't know. It's just called sanity. I don't know. I learned that from the Who. I
Okay,
don't
I thought about that. So I have this joke. I'm gonna offend some people here, but where
The
occasionally
gym. That's what I was doing. But to answer your question,
you miss offending people. Okay, I'm gonna offend some people.
no, I
So
said the gym.
oh, the gym. You missed the gym. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah. Okay, so I would tell my family on some Sundays, I'd be like, "Do you guys want to go to the church, or should I bring the church to you?" And so I'd go to Church's Chicken. And I buy a family thing of chicken. Sometimes we'd have some, a Sunday meal together.
Yeah, yeah, and that's not what they expected, right?
No, no, they know me. They know exactly what I mean when I say the church.
I mean, when people don't, I'm talking about people who don't know you.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
They would be surprised. So I said that, it's blessed by 400-degree oil. It should be safe. But if the person handling it after it's been blessed by the 400-degree frying oil um, is sick, they could get the virus on the chicken. And who's most likely to go to work sick? Part-time workers who don't get, paid sick leave. Um, that which so fast food restaurants are probably the worst places right now, because people want to get paid, and a lot of young people work at fast food, and they could be asymptomatic.
There's the point of having money if you can't go around and use it.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you can invest it too right now. That might be
Well,
something.
how do you know if the stock market is going to crash?
It did crash, so you'd be buying low. I guess your question would be, how do you know it doesn't hit zero? So unless you think it's going to hit zero and you think the American economy is just going to completely be crushed by this, which it's not. Worst case scenario, we're talking. Uh, I predicted less than 1% of the U.S. population, and it looks like my prediction is going to be um, wrong in a good way. It's going to be even less than my prediction. So I said, let's say 30% of the population with social distancing gets sick. That's about um, uh, what would that be? So we have 330 million. So I ended up saying that, okay, of that group of 330 million, 30% get sick, and then 1% of that group dies, which would be awful. That'd be terrible. Then you're looking at somewhere around the ballpark of 900,000. And I thought even that would be high, because I think that the death rate is less than 1%. Um, I think more people have had this virus than we realize. So uh, that's a lot. But in 1957, a huge percentage of the population died from a similar illness, a similar pandemic, and nobody cared. Nobody said anything. It was
What
like,
was it?
this is 1957.
What was the pandemic?
It was a flu. It was a type of flu.
Well, you know what? Speaking of flus, I mean, you remember I told you about the Spanish flu?
Yeah, that was the other example. That was the 1918, 1917, right?
Yeah, yeah. And you know why it's called the Spanish flu?
You told me last time. You
You don't
tell.
remember? So it didn't come from Spain, and guess what? It came from China.
I think I said, when you have China has like 2 billion people or 1.8 or something like that.
And then somehow it affected the Spain. Man.
Well, because people will say,
There's more to it than that, I'm sure. Just Google it. But go ahead, Andrew.
oh, it's saying like a lot of people say, well, why are these diseases coming from China? Well, if most of the people live in China, it's not surprising you
Well, I
get.
mean, it's their way of living too, and their government. I mean, think about it. If you live under a communist country and your choice of food is very limited,
Right.
yeah.
Well, so it kind of could be that I saw somebody say that it could stem from trying not to be wasteful. So if you keep animals alive before you kill them, before you eat them, well, then they're not going to the food isn't going to spoil, and you're not going to throw it away. And so that's why these wet markets, they call them wet markets, why they exist is that they're trying to maximize dollars. They're trying not to throw away food and to wait to kill the animal. And so you have all these animals that are alive interacting with humans and stacked up
It's not so much what's the animal. It's not so much that they're eating these. It's like what type of animals they're eating. They're eating fucking
bats.
bats and armadillos and shit.
I've eaten armadillo before, actually.
Oh, hold on, it's my girlfriend.
It's funny when I say I'll cut that out and I don't, and it ends up on the podcast. I always feel like those moments are great.
Yeah, I think you do it out of spite.
No, I don't. I just do it for comedic value. Um, so where were we? What were we talking about? Oh, wet
I
market.
don't know, just numbers and statistics. You know what you usually talk about 90% of the time in any of our podcasts.
Well, I think that's why. Well, people tune into this to hear us talk about. I say the numbers, and you.
How do you know you're not bullshitting these numbers? You could say
I I
5 out of 10 people have,
I
you
could,
know,
yeah, I could be wrong.
dog shit under their shoes.
I don't know. Yeah, I could get these numbers wrong for sure. I mean, we're only
I mean, we're just speculating here, you guys.
trying to go with,
Andrew's not a healthcare professional. He's just an English professor
yeah, that's
who
it.
has a know-it-all sense of knowledge.
No, I don't think I know it all. I just, but I do read a lot.
Marissa knows it all.
Who knows a lot? Who knows?
That show on Nickelodeon.
I haven't seen it.
Oh wow, I thought you watched Nickelodeon in the '90s.
Something knows it all. I don't know.
I don't know that show with Melissa Joan Hart.
Oh, yeah. I do remember that. Okay, I do remember that.
Yeah, my joke was, yeah, she knows it all.
Took me a while. Sorry.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what? I realize my voice gets muffled if I wear a mask.
a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you, but I don't know if it's coming through in the podcast. The Zoom audio is awful. Doesn't matter what you do.
It sounds great now, but I don't know how it's gonna sound after this is over.
Yeah. So what else has been on your mind?
Um, when I can start doing shit again, like going to the gym, going to concerts, all that stuff. I feel like 90% of the time it's just either work or home.
Yeah. I think it's good to have maybe some projects or goals in the meantime.
Oh yeah,
That's
I
what
was, I was working on that logo. You need to do that.
cool. Yeah. I've been trying to create there's been stuff I've wanted to do anyways for my class. So I've been trying to create stuff for that. And I've been pretty happy with some of the videos I've made. I want to practice my bass more. So I've been trying to do a little bit of that. I'd like to practice my Spanish a little bit more. That'd be nice, I think.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Yeah,
You didn't understand me, did you?
no, I do. Um, I think it'd be cool to hear some of your poetry. If you want to join, I have my poetry club that still meets on Fridays. We're probably one of the only clubs still meeting. So that's been pretty cool. And getting to see George is one of my favorite people. So that's
We
always
need to let George in this podcast.
get him on here. Yeah, exactly. Um, Getting to hear him on Fridays, that's been nice. To kind of just get a sense of seeing a familiar face, and it's kind of nice to see your face, honestly, because you're isolated here, and it can wear on people's psyche, and people can get depressed very easily, especially like today because it's kind of overcast and raining, so you can't even go outside in the yard if you want to, or you can.
Only like it when it rains. No, nobody knows that song. Garbage. No.
Are you still sad that we didn't get zombies?
Still sad. What?
Still sad that we didn't get zombies?
You think zombies is gonna happen as a result of coronavirus?
No, but
No.
that meme of from Step Brothers is like, I wanted zombies.
Oh yeah, that meme I showed you. This fucking virus is bullshit.
I love that movie, Step Brothers. I've been watching what have I been watching? Ozarks. That's been pretty cool. You been watching anything new?
That Tiger King.
I haven't seen it yet. A lot of people seem to like it. I have to watch it, so I'll have to give it a chance.
Yeah, you're gonna have to give it a chance. It's one of those peculiar shows, special interest shows.
Is it a comedy?
There's some comedy elements to it. It's just about a guy who had this big cat sanctuary empire where he's like almost like a zookeeper almost. He just owns a bunch of big cats, and then some woman who happens to be his quote unquote rival, tries to have him shut down, and then they just go head to head. Long story short, he tries to hire someone to murder her, and then
Oh, okay. Huh, sounds interesting. Yeah, I'll have to watch it. It sounds fun. A lot of people like it, so I'm gonna check it out. I've been checking out Ozarks because that's been popular.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I'm trying to become a professional podcaster, but
I would like that. Well, maybe even branch off, and we do two separate podcasts, and you can do more of your social justice warrior critiques, and I can be a guest, and we can branch off and have different guests.
yeah, you'd be what's his face, the Jordan Peterson of the podcast.
No, I feel like I'm the Jordan Peterson hates social justice warriors. I feel like
Exactly. So you'd be the Jordan Peterson of the podcast.
I don't hate social justice warriors. They're my friends, but I do.
So you agree to cancel everything?
No, I spend a lot of time critiquing a lot of the I think the simplistic ideas. I hate simplistic ideas on any side. And so I think just by the fact of trying to get to whatever I think is true, I tend to critique social justice warriors and people on the far right. It's just I don't know any people on the far right, so it sounds like I critique social justice warriors more. Um,
Yeah.
but I would be definitely the more social justice warrior of us two, I think. And I think I said that in the first podcast. So you'd be the Jordan Peterson, and I would be I don't know.
Ben Shapiro.
I hope not. No. I'd rather not be. Although
You're spouting statistics and facts.
the biggest insult you could throw at me would be to call me Tim Pool. That guy is like, if I have to put a face to the term NPC, which you taught me about, Tim Pool,
Yeah.
because all he does is
That's Fred Savage, but okay.
Oh no, to me, an NPC, which you call the non-playable character,
Uh,
is somebody who thinks they lack all power and they do nothing but complain. That's Tim Pool.
yeah, Orange Man bad.
Exactly. Or Orange Man good, apparently. Like he's sort of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's about does though, don't you think?
Yeah, I feel pretty good about this podcast. Short.
Good. I mean, it was short, sweet. It's kind of hard to talk about anything else when pretty
Yeah,
much everyone's already been hearing about it.
I know. Well, what you and I say are, I'm kind of hoping that people log on to the YouTubes to check out our podcast because they want to hear what we have to say about it. That's kind of one of the reasons why I listen to people is I want to hear what, let's say, Sam Harris has to say, or my Gad Sad, or
Okay, who's Sam Harris? That dude again? Who?
guy. He looks like Ben Stiller. He has a podcast that's very, very, very
You
popular.
think Sam Harris would take the time to listen to our podcast?
No, no,
Okay,
not yet.
one day.
Well, that's kind of my goal. Is there's this guy Gad Sad who I'm a fan of, who is very interactive with his followers.
Mhm.
I've actually asked him a question before, and Jeff has actually asked him a question, and he responded. And so I've had some cases where the people I follow have responded. I think if we could build up the podcast enough, we could get those sort of guests. But I kind of want to work in tiers, trying to get some of the people that we know locally who are just
Yeah, like let's get George for sure. He's
yeah,
one of the guests I've been wanting to have.
exactly. Yeah, if I could get some of the people that we know locally who have a ton of good ideas to join, then
What
over.
does that be?
Oh, that was probably my that was my something for school. That was my what is it called?
Okay.
Outlook. Yeah. So we can start with George and a couple other of the professors. I think would be great, and build up the podcast. And then I think it would be worth Gad Sad's time. But I'd want to make it worth it for them. They would just be doing me a favor if I asked them.
Well, we'll get there. Yeah.
Angelo back. Angelo was fun. So
Angela, so we should definitely bring back Angela.
yeah. We should get Norma, maybe Laura. I'd like to have Laura join us. That'd be cool. Because I'd like to have a female perspective on the podcast. So I'm gonna stop recording. All right. So everybody take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful
Yeah, don't go outside. Wear a fucking mask if you do.
day, week, or however long it takes us to make another podcast. Because it's tough here in the Zoom land.
Well, unless things starting to spike up and the curve doesn't flatten, then you know where to find us.
Yeah. All right.
All right.